Hey everybody, we are back at Rosehill Cemetery in Chicago on the north side, and there's a few things I wanted to circle back on. We'll call this the circle back video. I thought this was interesting. This goes back to 1855, and this is, you can't really tell here, but these are the train tracks that go back to, I think, the early 1800s, if not sure how early, but they would bring the bodies here, or the caskets, via train. They had special train cars that were outfitted with side doors to bring the caskets off the train and deliver them here. Actually, this used to be before the cemetery, just a train station, and I think it was called Rosehill. Before that, it was called something else, but this was the commuter railroad station for the Chicago Northwestern Railway, and now today that's called the Union Pacific North Line. But I thought it was interesting that, boy, I'd love to get in there and see that. I'm going to go in and ask, see if they'll let me take a look at it. Leonard Wells Volk, 1828 to 1895. I think this was the guy that sculpted, he was a sculptor, and this is his own image of himself. I don't know if he sculpted this, I imagine he may have. But it's amazing to see the actual carving work. And here's looks like a piece of copper reinforcement, or perhaps there was something here. Interesting. Of course, it's turned green over the years. But what brought me here was this horse. Or no, is that an elk? I don't know what that is. It looks like, yeah, it looks like an elk with the horns missing. Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely an elk. Son, Frank Melsom Baker Jr., 1901 to 1926, 25 years old. A lot of people died young back in those days. Baker, we got Curtis Baker, so this must be for Baker family. William Baker, born, looks like February 12th, 1825, boy, that goes way back, at Kingston, St. Michael's. It's in England. It says England. Mary Swinburne Lyon Baker, 1837, 1921. Wow. All the Bakers. 1968 is the latest. That's the Bakers. Looking for the grave of Bobby Peterson, Robert Peterson, who was 14 years old. Very sad story, very famous murders here in Chicago area. Here's, nope. So it was a Sunday in October 1955, and there were these three Chicago boys, good boys, the Schuessler brothers, John and Anton. Anton was only 11 and John was 13. And they went with Robert Bobby, they called him Bobby Peterson, to the, well actually they were going to see a movie. Yeah, this was back then, it was a Disney movie called The African Lion. And I don't know if they did that or not, but they ended up at a bowling alley because one of the boys was a bowler. I think it was Bobby, but anyway, in those days things were safe. They hitchhiked. I think they were hitchhiking home, and they got picked up by some scumbag, and they were never seen again until their naked bodies were discovered in a ditch. And oh, here it is. Yep, Robert Peterson. Robert M., 1942 to 1955. And this side is blank, presumably for maybe a brother or sister who may be still alive. We'll have to do a little research on that. If I find anything, I'll show it here. But this, guys, this ties into a really big story. Okay, a much bigger story. And this is a pretty big story. There was a guy that was convicted, I think it was in the 90s, and I'm going to do a thing on him if I can find where he's at. A really bad dude named Kenneth Hansen. And he worked for a guy named Silas Jane, and it was the Jane brothers. It was kind of a good brother and a bad brother. George Jane was kind of the good guy, and Silas was the bad guy. Although they might have both been associated with the mob. But this Hansen guy, they were horsemen, stable owners, and you know, they would buy and sell horses. They were in that circuit. And wow, this ties into a spider web of murders, which I'm going to get into after this particular. And after this, I'm gonna go see the other two boys. Stay tuned. Right now, I will be following this with a lot more. And Bobby, I hope you're resting in peace. You sure didn't deserve this. So we got our wildlife moment for the day. Oh, don't be scared. And they're right by an interesting statue. Huh. Thanks for leading me here, buddy. The thinking man. Well, the deer aren't scared of people here, not surprisingly. All right, let's go see, hey buddy. Let's go see what this is all about. The thinking man. Who's this? Marianne, a Special Olympian with her parents. Robert and Mary all together. Oh, that's beautiful. Mary was a Special Olympian, and she died in 2007. She was born 3 years after me. I've always liked this sculpture. Intriguing. Strayer. This is the main chapel of the cemetery. I forget what it's called. Oh, it says May Memorial Chapel. I believe that says. Boy, the mammoth stonework. This is definitely mid to late 1800s. Just stunning. What's interesting, there's an underground bunker, big one, with skylights. And then some type of bunker entry. You know, you could imagine this is horse and carriage at the day, and bringing the coffins, the remains here. They were probably brought into this chamber, and then, you know, that's the head of the chapel there, brought up in some fashion for the service, and then taken out the same way for the burial. This is all a big earthen bunker, and with really interesting skylights. I'm gonna park and check that out. Wonder if you can see anything from above. This goes up about 20 feet in elevation, if not more. There's some chamber here buried. Look at the copper. Oh, look at that. Bars. A double. What is that down there? I don't know what those are. They look like rows of records. Those look like some type of records. I don't know if you can see that. No, won't focus in. They look like white boxes. This reminds me of the movie Time Machine, where the guy went down these tunnels, these vertical tunnels, the Morlocks, 1,000 years into the future. Yeah, it's really, there's some type of lift. Yeah, there's something, no, you know what? It looks like a crematorium, but I don't see any chimneys. Wait a minute, that is a chimney. It's definitely a big chimney. I think this probably was the crematorium. It would be really interesting to, can't really see anything. There's some tables. Oh boy, that's untouched old, some old stuff. Yeah, I can't really see anything in these. But this big one. Yeah, very interesting. We'll look it up. I wanted to see this monument. A really interesting guy. I finally found it. George Bangs. He lived the early part of the 1800s. Was born, and check this out. How cool is this? And he this is a mail car. United States Railway Post Office, it says, and it's in really remarkable shape. George Bangs, he died November 1877, and What a remarkable monument this is. He's from Akron, Ohio. I think he was born, and he moved to Milwaukee to become a shoemaker, and his partner ran off with all the money, so he moved to Aurora as a strawberry farmer, and then he got involved in a newspaper. He became editor, then he bought the paper. It was the Aurora Republican, I think it was called. And I wonder what this is. It's a ball. Cannonball. Who knows what that is? Why would they put that there? Anyway, what's interesting is where he got going was he watched the Lincoln-Douglas debate in 1856, 58, and he was actually the first person, they say, that came up with the idea that Lincoln should be a presidential nominee. And the long and the short of it is, when Ulysses S. Grant became president after the Civil War and after all that, he appointed George as assistant postmaster, and then the postmaster retired and he became the head, and he innovated. He was one of these people, and ability first, no patronage. He streamlined the railway. You could get letters where it took weeks before within a couple days. Like, he really was an innovator. And what I love is that he had a memory that was just unshakable. He knew every employee, which was really unusual, by name. He had this amazing memory, and the people loved him. And you know what? This monument was designed and paid for by the employees after his death. They loved him that much. And I tell you, it's, for as old as it is really in good shape. Look at that. Try to get up close here. I mean, and it represents his life's work. Train going through the tunnel. Even the stonework. Remarkable. Anyway, a little story about another great person that did great things. So I'm here now at a tomb of what was probably the victim of what was the in the early 1900s, the crime of the century in Chicago. And I've got to give a shout out to one of our subscribers, Barbara Town, who suggested I include this. This kind of instigated the circle back here. And the boy's name was Bobby Franks, son of Jacob Franks, who was a wealthy watchmaker, businessman in the Chicago area. And the crime that was committed against little Bobby Franks was by the famous duo Leopold and Loeb. You can Google that. You'll find it just about everywhere. And really sad story. These two, this Leopold and Loeb guys, they were wealthy boys. They got all the luxuries of life as they were growing up, and when they became they were 18, 19 years old, they got to know each other, and they got closer, and they were both at the University of Chicago, I guess, studying on their own these doctrines of this Nitschke guy, or Nitsky, I don't know, or Nitska, a doctrine of that you don't need to follow the law, you're Superman. If you're smart and using superior intellect, you could defeat anybody and anything. Look at that. It's somebody has been here with a bunny rabbit. And so these two guys set about, they started with arson and little petty crimes. They're like, oh, we're getting away with this. Let's try to do a murder. Let's do the perfect crime. Well, let me tell you, they were really stupid when you hear how they did their perfect crime. Anyway, they decided on this Bobby Franks because Loeb was a neighbor. I think he was even a second cousin or something, but they decided to get him, and they lured him. Loeb was driving. I mean, these guys blamed each other. But Leopold was kind of more the more aggressive bad guy in the group, and they kind of determined that he was probably in the back seat. Bobby didn't want to get in the car at first. Loeb was driving, and Leopold was in the back seat, but they said, they kind of lured him under the pretense of playing tennis, or something about tennis rackets, because Bobby used to play at the Loeb's house. I guess they had a tennis court. Of course you have your own tennis court. And what they used was a chisel. So Leopold in the back seat started stabbing him with the chisel and got him by the neck and pulled him over in the back seat. Of course, there were witnesses that they didn't see the murder, but they saw these two guys driving around with the one guy in the back seat. So of course that was one mistake. And they killed him. And the mistake they made was, after everything was said and done, horror, shock, big news, was either Loeb or Leopold, they dropped their glasses at the crime scene. And the glasses were not remarkable, but what was remarkable was the hinge on the glasses, and they narrowed it down to 3 people. So Loeb, obviously, he under pressure confessed. These guys go to prison. It's a big, famous, Clarence Darrow, I think, represented them. Crime of the century. It was like the Lindbergh kidnapping, that big. And they get sentenced to life and all that kind of stuff. I think they were saved from the electric chair because of their attorney, famous guy. And then Loeb is like making advances and as quote unquote hounding this one prisoner. Oh, I forget his name. And the guy turns around and he says, gets a razor, and he slashes him like 50 times and kills him. So Loeb's killed. And the other guy, Leopold, he got out of prison, he got parole when he was older, and I don't know where he went. But anyway, here we are. We've got lots of coins here. Obviously, this famous tragedy gets lots of visitors. We've got up there, we've got Jack Frank's 1908 to 1938. Josephine. So now Josephine, and this is what Barbara suggested or mentioned, that she just died in 07, 100 years old. And she was 3 years older than Bobby, and Bobby had an older brother too. That says Richard Glazer. I'm trying to use my hand for the reflection. And over here we have Robert Franks. That's okay. So this is Bobby's crypt. Let me see if I can do that. This is Bobby's crypt. Life is because God is infinite Indestructible and Eternal. Robert E. Franks, September 19th, 1909 to May 22nd, 1924. And there is Jacob Franks' father, died in 1928, 4 years later. And Flora, let's see, I couldn't see if that works. That's Flora Franks, 1876 to 1937. So this crypt panel is starting to come off. Hopefully they can, it's all marble, and in this climate, it's just really rough on even inside. But boy, what a sad story this was. The Franks family. Rest in peace. Now this is a monument that I can't believe I missed last time. It's probably the most photographed and videoed monument around, certainly at this cemetery. And it is just unbelievable when you see it. This is actually the woman. Her name was Frances Pierce Stone. Frances Pierce Stone. And she is cradling her 10-month-old daughter, who is named Frances after her mother, and the wife of Horatio N. Stone. He married her when he was 41 years old. Elizabeth Anna Stone and the other family members. I presume that she is buried underneath this monument. So yeah, this is where they are buried, under this monument, because here is the epitaph. Frances M. Pierce. And you really can't, it's really hard to make out. What it says here. This was all moved from the original Chicago cemetery. And luckily they had covered this early when they moved it here with this glass case. This is really well done. And so the story is, he was originally married, Horatio, to a Jane Lowry, 1813 to 1851. And he married her in about 1833. And they had 2 daughters. They both died. And then Jane Lowry Stone herself died. I mean, I'm not laughing. I'm just like, oh my God. So a year later, he went on with his life, and he married the 17-year-old beautiful woman, Frances Manette Pierce, on September 21st, 1852, in Clifton Springs, New York. And she became pregnant later that year, and they gave birth in July in 53 to the baby. And tragically, Frances died on March 12th, 1854, here in Chicago. And to really compound things and make it's unbelievable, the baby died in May of 1854 when she was only 10 months old. So here they are memorialized forever. And I'll try to get some close-ups here, because it's just a beautiful, remarkable piece of art. She was only 17. And boy, the detail is just amazing. They say that this is haunted in some way, that there's mist that appears on the anniversary, a white mist on the anniversary of the death. I'm not sure if it's the mother or the baby. There is a white mist that forms in here. Now, you know, it's fully enclosed and we're in Chicago with all kinds of crazy environment, but it's really beautiful, beautiful artwork. It's signed C.B. Ives, Roma, 1856. And yes, this was done in Italy. It was shipped. One of the stories was the original was on the Lusitania. It was shipped and sunk, which I think has been debunked. And anyway, it's lucky they protected it, because there would be hardly anything left of this. It's just probably one of the most remarkable sculptures that I've seen. That's just amazing. Mother and daughter in perpetual sleep for eternity. Hopefully they're resting in peace with Horatio N. Stone.